The lady...
Hell. Sorry, you guys can keep going. It started pouring outside. I gotta let my puppy in.
All right. She turns around. Wow, who? Travelers. Oh, hello. And she sort of leans back and forth, trying to keep her balance. Oh, yes. Thank you.
Everyone come over and grab some of the loaves of bread.
Yeah, she promptly dumps a whole lot of sort of baskets and loaves of bread on everyone. But it's no problem for him to, keep it steady. Well, she says, looking at him, I must say, and she peers over to the rest of the party, you look like an odd sort.
You could say that.
Here for the festival?
Mostly just passing through.
Oh, I see. Well, she smiles. Well, you have chosen a very good moment to actually pass through. The festival is today, and she beams towards everyone.
Really? I was unaware of this.
Oh, she looks surprised. Well, you're not from here, I suppose. So I don't know why I thought you would be. Well, you see, we are we're consecrating our new temple today. And she smiles. And finally, we will have a proper place of worship.
Congratulations. It's a good thing to have. It's a good thing to celebrate.
She smiles. Yes, it is. She sort of drifts off with her eyes. Yeah. She seems sort of downtrodden for a few seconds, and then she perks up again. Oh, I shouldn't be thinking of that old stuff. Well, thank you. Well, if you could help me, I'm setting up my stall in the market, and she sort of indicates deeper inside town.
It'd be my pleasure.
Oh, lovely. Well, follow me then.
Do you have anything else you want carried?
She looks over to Roldar. Oh, well. She indicates one of the baskets she's still carrying.
Roldar will sheath his warhammer and his shield and extend his hands.
She moves over and plops a basket or two into Roldar's arms.
Is that all?
She looks back into the shop. Yes, for now. Thank you. I'm baking the bread in different... Well, I don't have the biggest stove. I really should upgrade. She muses over this for a few seconds as she turns towards the center of town and starts to sort of walk off and calling for you to follow her.
Erevan will just follow.
And Saloro looks down at Alvyn, shrugs.
The walk is kind of short. A few minutes later, her and the party arrives.
Oh. One more thing. So Saloro has decided that today will be a great day to do something else. So Roldar here is carrying all these loaves of bread and everything. So we have some bread, obviously sitting on top of the basket or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Saloro, because he can do this as a minor action, is going to just use Mage Hand and lift and hover one of these loaves of bread up to basically just like hover next to Roldar while he rides on the horse behind.
Roldar will just sort of stare, a bit perplexed by the sudden magical loaf. Look at it for a bit, stop, watch it move a bit. Something clicks in his head after a very embarrassingly slow period, and he turns his head to look at the mounted, robed individual,
Yeah.
and just go.
Saloro waves, and as he waves, the loaf sort of jiggles in the air.
You gonna turn it purple now?
Saloro snaps his fingers, a small shower of purple sparks appears around the loaf.
Bastard.
If he had pupils, he would be rolling his eyes, but you also noticed one of his eyes twitched a bit.
Alvyn will have a very big grin on his face.
Erevan will keep his normal straight face, but just turn around and almost for a second you almost see a smirk.
After a short while, the woman will have led you into the market square, and it is indeed busy. A lot of sort of local shopkeepers and farmers and stuff seems to be setting up their different stalls here. Already, even though it's kind of early in the morning, a lot of people are thronging in the marketplace. The marketplace is also in front of the town now cathedral, an impressive stone structure. Looking upon it, it seems to be quite well built, and this must have cost the town quite a lot actually to build this cathedral. It seems to be kind of cross-shaped, with the top half of the cross sort of missing. So it has an arm leading out to the west, east, and south. It has a peculiar shape of these arms as well. It's kind of difficult to make it out standing in front of it, but it is impressive. It has engravings of all the sort of good gods of the land. You see a engraving of Bahamut, the Dragon King. You see an engraving of the Raven Queen, the Queen of the Dead. You see basically all the biggest deities represented here. It is clearly, however, that the central deity for this cathedral seems to be Avandra, the goddess of travel, adventure, and discovery, and freedom. You can also notice behind the cathedral sort of a graveyard.
Erevan will just kind of look up at the where it's got engravings of Bahamut and just kind of ponder for a second, and then we'll continue to follow.
Upon drawing closer to these the religious symbols, Saloro will actually deposit the loaf of bread back in the basket and cease performing his jokes.
The woman plops down her bread in a small stall and indicates that this is where she wishes it to be placed. And she turns around to the party. Well, I must say, very friendly, aren't you? And she smiles towards Erevan and Roldar.
Erevan will just smile back. It was my pleasure.
I'm Alma Everton. She nods to the party. One of the bakers in town.
It's a pleasure to meet you. And Erevan will hold out his hand.
She shakes it happily. So, anything I can do in return? Well, of course, she grabs a loaf of bread and gives it to Erevan. Here, take it. It's on the house. And she smiles.
Erevan will smile back. If you insist.
So, they're planning to stay?
Maybe for a night's rest.
She nods. Yes, I could recommend the Rusty Dragon Inn then for you. It's and she smiles sort of maybe mysteriously. You think it's in the hands of a local talent, one might say, the daughter to one of the town's nobles. And she winks at the party. Her name is Ameko Kaijitsu, and well, she opened that in. Yep, she opened that in a couple of years ago, against her father's wishes, no less. She nods sagely. But it's a very adventure-friendly inn, and I think you should... she looks over at Saloro and Heinrich and Alvyn. I'm pretty sure you could all fit in there pretty nicely.
Well, Alvyn will just say, well, I can fit in anything, so it's not a problem.
She smiles, a sort of a motherly smile towards Alvyn. Did we drop someone? Oh gosh.
Dark's dropped.
Uh-oh.
Oh well. Okay, she seems sincere. That's good. That sort of fits with what Saloro might know of the Rusty Dragon at any rate, I assume.
Yeah. Being very thankful to the party, she will nod again and sort of dive into her stall and start unpacking the wares and preparing for the festivities.
We'll wait for DDS to reconnect before I speak any further.
Yeah.
with fucking Heinrich. Oh, you renamed him for me, sweet. If he goes, I might have to rename the next horse Heinrich Mark II.
Heinrich Mark II.
By the time we're level 20, we'll just probably have this plainer horse. The spirit of Heinrich the First.
Well,
And
you-
rebuild him.
Better than ever before. Well, you can certainly apply like celestial templates to things.
Oh, good thing I let in the puppy. It just started storming out there pretty bad.
Huh.
So
Yeah.
so if I suddenly vanish, then the gods have ruled that Saloro must attend matters elsewhere.
Sure. Mhm. Well,
I think we're off to a great start. What do you think, Griff?
I'll have to admit, I like that turn of choices. It's like, all of a sudden, everything Salaro does has purple in it. I like that twist.
I was like, Roldar doesn't like the color purple, huh? I could go off this. I'm a wizard.
you're a wizard, Saloro.
No, I could have actually done worse. I could have made the loaf talk.
Hello, governor.
It's talking
What kind
purple
of bread
loaf,
do you
okay?
make?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to be a wizard.
There, I have connection.
Make random
Roldar
noises
drops.
everywhere.
Roldar drops the baskets, picks up his weapons.
She's an evil wizard.
I know, like, I could have done it with, like, ghost sound. It just, like, started, like, whispering to you, and only you can hear it.
Hello there, Roldar.
Unfortunately, I didn't think of it until after I already did what I did with the purple sparks. I'm like, I'll leave it alone anyway. Saloro will go ahead and shift a bit forward on top of Heinrich and say, indeed, the Rusty Dragon Inn would be an interesting locale for the likes of us. There might be some interesting things we hear there. Many adventurers who come through the Lost Coast Road do stay there, and it does have an interesting sort of history of its own.
Maybe we should reserve a room there.
They also have proper stables for any horses, and while those can be acquired as well, those are nice. And Heinrich just sort of...
Is my microphone working?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's go reserve a room then. I'm sure your horse wants somewhere to stay.
Heinrich uncannily nods his head at Erevan.
All right. The Rusted Dragon is not difficult to find in town. It is a decent-sized building, but the most remarkable feature is indeed the enormous Rusted Dragon that is perched on its roof. A quite large metal construction of unknown make. It seems very old, since it is indeed, as its name suggests, quite rusty. It must weigh a ton, and exactly how anyone got it up there is unknown to the party.
Erevan will just stare up in amazement for a second. Erevan will think about his god for a moment, and then proceed to continue walking in.
All right.
I'll need a little post. I assume those are out there to attach Heinrich to for the moment.
Indeed.
Saloro will slide off of Heinrich and pat him reassuringly.
Heinrich seems quite pleased by this. The bar room is, even though it's early in the morning, seems to be somewhat crowded. There are patrons here, clearly. They seem to be planning for, well, the festivities during the day. To the left, Erevan can see sort of a door being slightly open and can sort of hint at some sort of bedroom behind it. To the right, he notices there is some sort of gambling table. Perhaps during the evenings you can play all manner of card games at this table. Behind the counter, right ahead of him, is a young woman. She looks foreign. She is clearly not from Varisia. Exactly where she is from is unknown, but as the party enters, she quickly, sizes them up and moves along the counter. Well, hail, travelers, she says in a sheer voice.
Hail. We would like to reserve a room for the night.
Oh, I see. She looks over the party. How many?
4 of us.
I see.
Alvyn will shout 3.5.
She actually laughs a bit at this. She has a clear and kind of ringing laugh. It sounds pleasant. Oh, I see. She looks at Roldar and Saloro, though. Well, you're quite tall, aren't you, fellas? She seems to ponder. Well, I do have one of the a few beds on upstairs in the sleeping quarters. You can certainly hire those. It's good that you came now, actually, because I think a bit later in the day, I won't have much space left here. The festival, you see. And she smiles.
My thoughts. So how much will it be?
Would you want to eat as well?
Everyone will just kind of look back for other people's opinion if they want to grab food here.
Roldar curiously looks around. Are these people eating over here?
No, they seem to be planning something for the festivities. They have sort of a small map ahead of them, and they all are talking intently, bent over the map, sort of pointing and nodding to each other.
Is there any food about on the tables or leftovers or such?
There is indeed some breakfasty-looking food over here between these two gentlemen.
Will it good?
Let's have a perception check.
Let's have that breakfast.
Yes, size that breakfast up. Roldar would seem that yes, this looks like quite good food actually. It's hard to see like from this distance. You would need to inspect it further, but it seems to be high quality from what he can determine.
Roldar slowly turns his head and nods.
Saloro says, that won't be necessary for me. However, I will need to secure lodging in your stable for 1 horse. Holds up a gloved hand.
The woman behind the counter, who you are guessing is Ameko, and Saloro might very well have met her before during his stays here, nods and says, of course. And she turns around into the kitchen behind her and shouts, Bethany, would you please stable the Lord's horse here? And she nods over to Saloro. You hear the shuffling of feet inside the town, and a halfling shows up. She is covered in what seems to be, flour. Perhaps she has baked a bread or something quite recently and haven't really washed off. And she says, I was just making breakfast. Can I at least wash myself first? And Echo sort of nods to her and says, yes, of course. And she rambles into the kitchen again. All right. Mako says, well, the lodgings and food are 5 silvers each for a day.
Erevan will go ahead and pull 2 gold out.
She happily takes gold. Oh, wonderful. You are free to stay here then. And she sort of indicates up the stairs. If you go up the stairs, the first sleeping quarters to the right, I think 2 travelers are actually staying in 2 of the beds, but the inner room should be available for you.
Thank you.
She will say, also I should notice, or inform you rather, that the lunch for today is on the taverns in the city. It's part of the festival. And she smiles. Everyone eats for free today.
Very well. Thank you.
She nods. My pleasure. Now she wonders to herself, I really need to get around to doing the fish dish. And she sort of turns into the kitchen and hides inside.
Then Saloro looks to the others and say, I'm going to wait outside with Heinrich until Bethana comes for him. And Saloro.
Very well, Saloro.
Well, Erevan, what do you want us to do until tonight?
Since the festival is on, I think we should just enjoy ourselves for the day.
Of course.
You may do as you wish.
Yeah. Roldar curiously looks down to Alvyn.
Got
Alvyn
anything
will.
curious planned?
Sorry, come again.
Have you got anything curious planned?
Alvyn will just say, well, not yet, but that might change. I might just explore the city a bit and look at the festival. I'm not sure what I'm going to see, but I'm sure it will be exciting.
Erevan, go ahead and take a seat and just say, make sure you stay out of trouble.
Sheriff Hemlock, the sheriff who kills you. I love the name.
I better make sure you don't get in trouble, little guy.
You're welcome to join me, of course. And Alvyn will just walk towards the door.
I'll meet you at the festival later.
As Alvyn walks out the door, he almost walks into a stern-looking man. He is clad clearly in some sort of city guard outfit. He also has an emblem on his sleeve that seems to denote some sort of status. He looks quite stern and quite gruff, and he looks down at Alvyn with what Alvyn would perceive as piercing and almost knowing eyes, almost like the man is sizing Alvyn up for trouble.
Well, Alvyn, almost running into the guy, will get startled and jump back a bit. And after recovering, he will just ask, well, I didn't do anything yet. You don't have to look at me. And then realize what you just said.
Roldar, if he had pupils, it would be obvious he's rolling his eyes.
The man looks surprised. Oh, I kind of looks down at Alvyn. Didn't do anything. And he sort of like looks over the rest of the people here. And Bethany turns to him and says, yes, they are newly arrived adventurers, I think. And she sort of smiles up at Saloro. The man nods and says, oh, I see. Well, I am Sheriff Hemlock. I am the head of the city guard. And he nods towards you.
Roldar bows his head.
Roldar of Clan Duke.
He nods. Pleasure to meet you.
And so, Alvyn will just say, oh, Sheriff, well, we are really just here to enjoy the festival, don't worry.
His eyes sort of thin themselves to slits for a few seconds as looking down at Alvyn. I hope so. Sort of speculative. And he, well, shrugs. Never mind. If you excuse me, I need to talk to someone in there. And he nods to Bethany, who walks in turn up to Heinrich.
Roldar takes a couple of steps back to allow him through.
Yeah, he nods as he passes beside Roldar.
You're gonna get in a lot of trouble, Alvyn.
Alvyn will just say nothing and reflect on what just happened. And then walk out the door and try to forget what just happened.
If you look back, you'll notice Erevan has just got out some pieces of paper and is writing something.
Right, Bethana will approach Heinrich and sort of survey. Well, he's a magnificent steed, isn't he?
Saloro sort of looks at Heinrich and just declares accusation like, well, respond to her. Heinrich sort of cuts a glare at Saloro.
Bethana seems to be quite pleased and says, oh, well, and so well-mannered. Well, does he require anything special?
Like, I will assist in taking care of him, that is, so long as he has the lodging.
She nods. Very well then. And she leads Heinrich sort of off into the stable close by.
Yep, Saloro will be following and begin the process of dressing down and rubbing down the horse, since it's going to be remaining here for the entire day.
Yep. All right. Back in the tavern, Erevan, who's been writing something, notices that the newly arrived sheriff sort of storms by past him. He seems to be going into a room right next to where Erevan is sitting. Sheriff bursts into the room and takes a look at Arenoss. Arenoss, he says, nodding.
Arenoss will sort of look up from his book that he's reading, take a couple of puffs from his pipe. Yes. Hello, Mr. Hamlet.
He rubs his forehead. I was a bit of a trouble this evening again. Down at the fat man's feed bag, and he rubs his forehead. Disorderly conduct, drunkenness, and I almost actually thought they were going to kill a man.
The usual then.
He shakes his head. I suppose, but usually not this frequent. I don't know what's riling them up like this.
Oh, yeah. Well, what are you supposed to do about it?
I'm not sure. We can't really. Well, the drunks are, of course, sleeping it off. He shrugs.
Sorry, I sort of freaked out whenever there was a bolt of lightning that crashed within viewing distance of the house. I unmuted the microphone. I'm sorry. my phone fucking twitched.
Yeah, it was a very dramatic scene in D&D.
Oh my lord!
I'm sorry.
No, that was.
It's fine.
Yes, and Ubrail, the rogue, just smiles at me, says that he has nothing to do with it. He mumbles to himself, I'm sure the Scarnetti family has something to do with it, but I can't prove it. He sighs. Well, what are you doing? Sort of looking at the book.
Yeah, I'm not just reading up on a couple of history, but yeah, I'm not doing anything important right now. Want me to do something?
He nods. Well, I I would like to, have a couple of extra eyes out there today. I'm not sure, but if the Scarnetti family is going to cause any trouble, I want to be on top of it. There's a lot of people out and about today, and we can't let them get hurt.
Yeah. Probably for the best then. I'll head off straight away.
He nods. Good. You will get your usual commission, of course. And sort of
very good. And Arenoss will head out the door.
All right. The Sheriff Hemlock turns around and starts heading out.
Everyone will just look up and see the sheriff going past. And continue writing.
All right. The sheriff casts a searching glance at Erevan, but nods to himself, sort of probably identifying him as some sort of adventurer. And he will also head out. All right.
Erevan will, a few minutes later, finish writing his notes and get up from his seat. Proceed to walk towards the festival.
All right.
Smallest member of party and tallest member of party next to one another. I think this is the smartest choice.
Could be worse.
Indeed. Well, let me just fix with the map here.
I would have figured that if I had the microphone muted whenever the lightning comes down, it wouldn't have come across, but that actually scared me. I fucking jumped in my goddamn seat. Unmuted the microphone, apparently. Oh, man.
Always good with some drama.
Yep. We need some more excitement in this game.
Indeed.
Yeah.
A more adrenaline pumping action from Grimith.
Indeed. Yes, it seems to be still in the early hours, and you are free to explore the town if you so wish. Is it anything in particular you want to sort of look for in the town or want to explore?
Well, Arenoss will sort of try to head to an area that has a lot of people in it and just keep a look for trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Not really doing anything else, just standing there smoking his pipe, looking bored.
All right.
Alvyn will... Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Erevan will take a walk around the city, and I assume there's probably like a docking area where ships...
Yes, indeed.
Erevan will go down there and just kind of watch the ocean for a little bit before continuing his walk.
And Alvyn will just wander around, not really paying attention to his companion and just going wherever something catches his eye.
Okay.
He will unconsciously try to stay somewhat unnoticed, which might make it hard for Roldar to follow. But every now and then Alvyn will remember that he actually has someone who wants to follow him, and he will go back and find Roldar so he can keep following.
Roldar is trying to make sure Alvyn is staying out of trouble. And then suddenly the halfling the gnome disappears. And then appears again. And Roldar just... Okay. He's primarily just making sure Alvyn doesn't get in trouble.
Saloro remains with Heinrich for about an hour, just tending to the horse's muscles, as well as loading off the equipment and brushing him and checking the hooves to make sure everything's okay. And afterwards, he's going to chide the horse a bit to behave. Heinrich will sort of like nod the head, and Saloro is not looking for anything particular. Just goes off into a town that he has not seen for some time, and sort of gravitates towards, I suppose, the large religious structure that the town has worked so hard to complete.
Indeed. If you look to your left, you will have a quite large and detailed map over Sandpoint.
You may need to kind of read off the words.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't read them.
Yes. Up here is the Sandpoint Cathedral. This is the newly built religious structure of the town, graveyard. To the north is the northern entrance to the town. It's called North Gate. To the west, and this is perhaps the most peculiar feature of the town, at least at first glance, is this old stone ruined structure over here. Judging from the debris, this building or tower or whatever it was must have been quite tall. The exact height is, as of now, impossible to deduct from what you can see. But perhaps further study could actually find that out. But the ruin is quite substantial actually, and looks quite old. Let's see here. We have the Tanner's Bridge over here to the east. It's so named because the tanner's shop that lies right next to it. A lot of the sort of refuse and things that comes out of a tannery sort of gets dumped into the waters beneath here, also giving a sort of a rancid smell around this area. And that's also a reason for the name, as it were.